I changed everything about myself for my son. I used to think being good meant never making anyone uncomfortable, and that if I could just be nice enough, generous enough, accommodating enough, everyone around me would stay happy and no one would ever leave. I said yes to things I didn't want. I smiled when I was furious, and I swallowed every sharp edge inside myself until I forgot where I ended and everyone else began. I married young to someone who was safe and soft-spoken, someone my parents approved of, someone who said, "We're a team," but meant, "You do everything and I'll criticize it from the couch." I stayed because leaving felt like failing, and I didn't want to be the kind of person who gave up. And then we had a son. And suddenly all the people-pleasing I'd done for decades felt like something I couldn't pass down. One day when he was 4, we were at a family barbecue, and my husband's father, who's always treated me like a houseplant with legs, joked that our son cried like a little girl. Everyone laughed. I waited for my husband to say something, but he just shrugged and popped open a beer. That night, after I read my son to sleep, he asked me if it was bad to cry if you're a boy. I said no, absolutely not. And he said, "Then how come nobody told Grandpa to stop?" I didn't have an answer, just this hollow, cold feeling in my chest. I couldn't protect him from a world full of sharp people if I kept sanding down my own edges. So I made a rule that week. I would stop being polite where politeness served cruelty. I started small. If someone interrupted me, I didn't wait for them to stop. I just kept talking. If my husband criticized me in front of others, I said, "That wasn't helpful," out loud, right there at the table. I stopped brushing off comments like, "You're lucky to have a husband who helps around the house," and started saying, "He lives here too." But it didn't stop there. I started keeping a notebook of every time someone tried to shrink me and I let them, and every time after that when I didn't. And I read it. A lot. And something about seeing it in writing made it feel real. One night I came home late from work, and the kitchen was a mess, and my husband made a snide comment about me playing career woman. And instead of apologizing or explaining or crying, I just left. I packed a bag, took our son, and went to stay with my friend across town. He kept calling, saying I was overreacting, that it wasn't a big deal. I told him, I used to be so afraid of being too much, but I've decided it's better than disappearing entirely. A year later, we're in our own apartment. It's small and messy and loud and full of laughter, and I still say yes more than I should. But now I also say no. And when my son cries, I cry with him. Not because I'm weak, but because I want him to know it's strong to feel what you feel, and to stand where you are, even if someone wants you to move.